Hello everyone, I'm Ronn Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. You're watching 284 Media. Thank you so much for your time. As you all know, the BVI Chamber of Commerce is presently undergoing a number of changes as well as rebranding. We heard previously from the chairman of the BVI Chamber of Commerce, the lovely Miss Shaina Archer. Today joining her would be the Executive Director of the Grenada Chamber of Commerce, who is also the chairperson of the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, Miss Petipha Lewis. We're discussing, of course, a lot of regional happenings and how the CARICHAM, which is the regional Chamber of Commerce, is really essentially helping the region move from good to great as it pertains to business. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.
When you're in need of air conditioning, installation, repairs, or replacement services, Markinson Air Conditioning and Refrigeration has the professional technicians, equipment, parts, and ACs to get the job done right. Markinson Air Conditioning and Refrigeration carries top brands like Daikin, Aircon, Mitsubishi, and more. We're open Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Located in Fish Bay. Telephone 340-4114 or 343-9511. Markinson Air Conditioning and Refrigeration, providing exceptional services to the British Virgin Islands since 2015.
Manchester United have come from behind to lead.
At home or on the go, watch CCT Live. Download our app and carry your favorite TV shows, news, or live sports anywhere you go. Visit cctbvi.com/live, select your package, and tune in.
That's out.
That's 6.
That's out.
With great service and fast claims response, we're like a home match that isn't played at your actual home. CG Insurance. Good like that.
My turn. Oh, come on, guys.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I'm Ronn Grant, and you're watching 284 Media. As promised, I am joined by the chairman of the BVI Chamber of Commerce, the lovely Shaina Smith Archer, alongside Mrs. Petipha Lewis. Of course, she is the executive director of the Grenada Chamber of Commerce, but you also serve Ms. Lewis as the chairperson for the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our studios, and by extension, welcome to the BVI.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Now, Ms. Archer, as we previously spoke in our previous interview, the Chamber is undergoing a number of changes, and this year we are commemorating the 54th anniversary, or existence rather, of the Chamber. I want to speak about the legacy, put that into perspective for us. What does that 54 years of service to the Virgin Islands mean?
Well, it started back in 1969, where actually the Chamber of Commerce Organization and the Hotel Association came together to consolidate resources, as it were. You know, at that time, things would be a lot different to where we are now. And with that, they forged forward. There were many initiatives that have occurred over the year, including the annual by BVI Trade Expo that most persons may be familiar with, as well as the BVI Spring Regatta. That was actually an initiative that's in partnership with the Royal BVI Yacht Club. The Business Awards Gala, Junior Achievement, we've done workshops, we've had luncheons, forums, many things that hopefully have supported and helped businesses grow, and as a result, because they are the backbone of the economy, has grown our country on a social as well as an economic level.
At this present moment, with the various crossroads of the Chamber, what would you say is next for the Chamber of Commerce?
Well, what happened about a year ago in 2022, we sat as a board of directors and looked at, how can we strengthen the institution that is the Chamber of Commerce and Hotel Association. And we thought that we'd look into the possibility and the opportunity that was there to actually separate. And we had a conversation with the tourism sector. And essentially they welcomed the idea with open arms. And that is where persons would recall that in May of this year, that we launched the BVI Yachting, Hotel and Tourism Association. So they are basically a standalone organization that will work alongside the BVI Chamber of Commerce now going forward.
Wonderful. And I want to talk about advocacy areas because that is essentially the role of the chamber, being the voice of reason and advocacy for the BVI business community. What would you say are your key 3 areas of advocacy?
But what we want to do going forward from this year is to focus our energy in terms of there's so much going on, so many things that need to be addressed. And we touched on some of this at the last interview that we talked. And, 5 years, we've gone through catastrophic hurricanes, we've gone through a pandemic recession. So it's something where now we feel that it's important for us to figure out what the priorities are for our business community and what are those things that are going to make the most impact in order for us to move from recovery mode to growth in our economy. So the 3 main areas that we're looking at is around economic diversification and development, where we're going to be championing the cause of having a comprehensive economic development plan. And we're going to roll out actually more details about this in the coming weeks. We also feel that it's important for businesses to have a locally sourced workforce. This again is something that's been talked about, on several occasions over the years.
And on the national level.
And it's very key when it comes to how do we address cost of business. And one of those is obviously employee and your payroll. And if we're able to source that resource basically locally, that helps to mitigate the cost of living as well as unemployment. So workforce development and some initiatives that will help with that. We also want to bring back the Junior Achievement Program because we believe it's important to groom the next business leaders of the economy. So those initiatives will fall within those categories. And the last one would be around regulatory efficiency. So again, there are so many things that fall under here, but I think the main concern is around the reform of public service delivery. Being able to access the services that the government and the statutory bodies provide in a user-friendly way, as well as a way that it doesn't take up the time that it's taking up currently. It takes too long in terms of making decisions, whether it's for applications or even for payments. So those are the areas where we're going to start to hone in on going forward. And especially since that we're going to be celebrating 55 years next year.
Yes.
I think, at that half a century and 5 mark, it's going to be very important for us to really rally our business community around where we take our economy to that next level.
Well said. Now, Ms. Lewis, you, as I mentioned, are the chairperson for the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, as well as the executive director for the Grenada Chamber of Commerce. Before we get into CARICHAM, I have to ask you, when you compare and you look across the region, what are some of our similarities in regards to challenges that we all face, that you've observed?
Well, listening to Shaina speak, it's so familiar. We all face the same kind of challenges, as well as finance to continue doing the things that we need to do. And we have to do this delicate balance of advocacy, providing value for our members while raising funds to continue, because membership dues alone doesn't cut it.
Of course.
So we always have to supplement. And I don't think there are many chambers, if any, there might be, who get subvention from government because they are private sector organizations. And one expect that they will have all the money that they need to do what they need to do, but that's not the reality.
Right, that's
so we have that
observation.
Yes. And so we think that in particular, when we look across the region, I think we have all come to the conclusion that our struggles are the same, and that if we come together, we could probably do a lot better than we're doing individually.
Always stronger together.
Always stronger together.
And speaking of stronger together, CARICHAM, tell us about the role of CARICHAM.
Okay, the Network of Caribbean Chambers was formed in 2019. And that is coming out of a history where we have had other Caribbean chambers, regional, and there became a time when members found that they weren't getting value and we needed to relook at what we were doing. So we, as I mentioned, part of the challenge is finance to run these organizations. And so we started as a network, just coming together, discussing, looking at priorities. So we have like pillars. We have disaster risk reduction, which is a major one. We have the whole question of advocacy. We have sharing best practices, training, logistics, and trade facilitation is major. Because, for example, to come here, we're not going to go into that now, but it was an absolute nightmare. However, it was an absolute rainbow arriving in BVI.
Lovely.
It was absolute.
It was worth it.
It was worth. It was worth. And I think what happened, I was saying to Shaina, that the experience that I've had, I needed to have the experience. Because now when I speak, I could speak firsthand. So it's not hearsay. I have experienced it. So I have the details. So we have a lot of work to do in the region in terms of improving transportation, both A and C, because we want to share, we want to trade among each other. But it's difficult for us to travel. I mean, I come here for just one day, and it's 4 days away from work. But the beauty is that COVID brought us a gift. To be able to work remotely. So once I'm not in the air, I'm able to work.
Well,
you know?
I'm happy that you mentioned the connectivity between the region, as in transportation, of course. You are correct. Since COVID, it has become increasingly difficult to travel just within the region, as close as Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and the examples are endless. But connecting the region through conversations is essentially important. And like we're doing today, I think it is quite valuable. What are some of the goals you would say of CARICHAM?
Well, first let me just say, in terms of, as we mentioned about connecting people, I would not have met Shaina had we not had the chamber, the network of chambers.
Wonderful.
And I would not be here speaking now. And you had asked me earlier in terms of what's my objective for coming here, right? Is about deepening the relationship and actually understanding the business environment. Because when we meet, it's a lot of us, and we have some specific things that we talk about, but we never really get the opportunity to drill down into the individual chambers and what their challenges would be or are. And you know, with everything, everybody is, what is in it for me? So this is an opportunity for me to get to understand the environment better, the challenges. We talk about how we could deepen relationship, how we could share. And this is and I'm here to support and celebrate the separation, not separation in terms of division, the milestone in terms of strategically going forward to ensure that we now address the realities of where we are, and so that it's good that you always reflect on where you come from, where you are now, where you want to be, and how you need to get there, and so you reorganize to get there. So this is good.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Shaina, I have to ask, Ms. Lewis is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the keynote speaker.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about that brand relaunch and her keynote address, of course, that we're going to be looking forward to.
Yes. So today we're actually doing the formal announcement, I would say, as it relates to the renaming of the association. And again, reminding ourselves, you know, we have accomplished quite a bit in spite of the challenges that have gone on before us. And even over the years, you know, I really want to thank all the past directors, past board members, past staff of the chamber that has kept it running, because, you know, it's a lot of work, as Petipha just touched on, in terms of representing, you know, the entire business community and being essentially the watchman. So, you know, we reached out without a hesitation, because we wanted it to be something where, knowing that our membership is actually fairly new with the CARICHAM, that we reach out and have their support and invite them in, because again, this is an opportunity where we're looking at market expansion for our local economy, and it will only come through partnerships like this.
Interesting. Wonderful. Now, Ms. Lewis, I have to go back to
Yes.
some of the goals of,
Yes.
of CARICHAM because with observation comes solution. So tell us the aim moving forward.
Okay, our plan is to, we say through collaboration, right? Success through collaboration. And we have, just to give you an idea of the network, we have 25 chambers throughout the region.
Okay.
We have Spanish speaking, French, Dutch, English, from the north to the south, east and
Exciting.
west. Yeah, and it's wonderful. We have our goal is we really want to make sure we want to work towards a Caribbean where it's sustainable and our people enjoy quality of life. That's the bottom line, you know. And we want to do that through a number of things: collaboration, partnership, widening our network, and bringing more and more people into the fold. Now, there's a lot of time that we talk about government and private sector like they are on separate sides of the fence. The reality is that we need all hands on deck. Everybody needs to be involved in order for us to achieve what we want to achieve. So eventually, this is what we want, but we're going to be doing it through, we focus on a number of areas, like we say our pillars right now, and we have just added 2 others, which we want to remain relevant.
Okay.
So we have the whole issue of cybersecurity, which is a big thing now, and the whole question of AI, artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
right? So I think that in this era, we have to look at how times are changing, the disruption that we're getting, and how we maneuver all of it, and not look at the challenges that we have as daunting, but there are opportunities for us to be creative and achieve the things that we want to achieve. You know, there's no growth without a little pain.
Yes.
You know, so it's not looking at what is ailing us somebody, but how we could grow from that.
I'm quite happy that you mentioned adapting because the ever-changing trajectory of not only the region and the islands, of course, you mentioned about remote working. That is something that unfortunately many of the regions were not privy to up until COVID. And we continue to adapt and we continue to maneuver through the challenges. So I appreciate the fact that at the end of the day, we have some challenges, but we're working most importantly towards solutions. Ms. Archer, I have to ask you though, on our front, locally, I know there's a lot to work on, and you mentioned some advocacy areas, but if you could say one thing to the BVI business community moving forward into our transition with the chamber, what would you want them to pay attention to most?
I think it would be around the economic development strategy. One of the things in preparing for this event, I think for me that really struck me is the humble beginnings of the current economy, you know, where there was a time that it was the farmers, the fishermen, the shopkeepers that provided the goods and services. We expanded over the years, moving into more of a service industry and moved away actually from production. And now food security is a big concern for the region, and not just us, but it is also opportunity there for business. And we like to look at, you know, businesses isn't just about profit, but it is about people's livelihoods. This is how many persons basically take care of their families, you know. So the micro business, which is like the self-employed, all the way up to our large companies that are based here, it's very important for us to continue being innovative, because that is how we came here. We came from, you know, the subsistence economy all the way into where we are now. And as Ms. Lewis touched on, that the new technologies that are coming in is going to afford us even more opportunities. So I'm very proud when we think of, again, our economy, the last prediction was at about 1.4 billion US dollars. So as a small island developing state, Ron, I think that's something for us to really pat ourselves on the back, but not to sit on our laurels, but to really look forward and say, okay, what can we do, you know, in the next 5 years, 10 years, and how do we develop the next set of business leaders? Because it is those new business owners that are going to step into the space and that are going to bring the new business ideas as well as expand on those that exist. So there's so much
really love that,
potential,
yeah.
and I'm excited about it. So I want them to also be excited that there is so much more opportunity than I would say what challenges us, because for me, the challenges, we have the solutions once we put our heads, down and say, how do we move from, East End to West End and make everything in between there even better.
And let's not forget the progress, all the progress
Yes,
that
yes.
we've made.
Very
I just
important.
want to add to what Shaina was just saying. Our reality in the region is that there's about 70 to 80% of our businesses are micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Okay.
And we have the same challenges in terms of one man trying to do some work and don't have the time to spend to develop and build his capacity. So one of the things that CARICHAM has done is create on our website what we call the Center of Excellence. It's a suite of tools for micro, small, medium enterprises to use. It's free, of course. It's downloadable, and they could use it. So you have marketing, you have finance, you have record keeping, you have business planning, you have resilience planning, business, we call it, when you're recovering from your business, business continuity planning, yes. And of course, they're not alone. They're not left on their own to struggle with it. Some people would be able to download the material and use it. Others will need a little help. And this is where Shaina and them come in to help provide training, support facilities so that they could build a capacity. Because one of the challenges that we have, and we hear them saying, is that they have difficulty in terms of access to finance. But the issue is not necessarily access finance, is the question of, are you in a position to convince the lenders that they should take a chance on you? And that will help if you have all these things
all the resources
together. Yes, yeah.
Thank you for sharing about the Center for Excellence. I have to ask you, how can persons log into that website? Please share the website.
The website is caribbeanchambers.net.
All right, so that's caribbeanchambers.net.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
When we look at the region, business and trade, of course, this has been a conversation locally as our leaders, a 17-member delegation, recently went over to Guyana for a trade mission. From your position, where you sit as chairperson for the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce, I want to talk about the regional business and trade and whether or not there's adequate support for that across the region.
No. There are many areas that we need to focus on to improve trade. We have the whole question of the doing business environment, the trade facilitation in terms of customs, port efficiencies. These are some of the things that we're struggling with. So apart from the logistics that we talk about in terms of moving, apart from moving when you arrive, how efficient is the system or people, because they're saying money, time is money. And if we don't get these resources straight and the systems properly oiled and working, it will be a fetter to our trade.
Yeah.
Understood.
And I just want to add to that too, Ron. I mean, sometimes we hear about trade and trade missions and we think that it has to be something very complicated. But back in 2020, this is how we learned about CARICHAM, where the Martinique Chamber of Commerce reached out and said that there was a group of French-speaking businesses, so they came in from all the different French-speaking islands on a cruise. And what they did is that at each stop, they had already arranged to meet with the local Chamber of Commerce and have conversations now with persons in specific industries based on who was on the trip. So it's something where it's as a combination of things where governments will have to do their negotiations that would support now what the business partnerships already established. Because it's important that, again, as Petipha mentioned, we're all part of the same coin.
Yes.
One side is public sector, one side is private sector, but it is the same in one economy. Sometimes we speak about it as if we have two different economies, but it is one economy, and as such, everybody has a role to play. So as a regulators, what we're going to need to see more of is in terms of true discussions and negotiations on how we can make the ease of business across the region something that we can really see the progress. Again, we're producing different goods in the different markets. It's something where we've already moved away from, I need to produce everything that I need. But we need to look regionally and say, you know, what can we export across a region and what can we import from the region rather than from the first world countries that we are currently doing, because you know the food bill for the region is in the hundreds of billions right now. So for me, again, when I look at that, if I think about, let's try to see how we can capture even just 10% of that. You know, can you imagine what our Caribbean region would look like? You know, the same model that the European Union pulled together because they understood that their economic and social success was tied. It is time for us, I think, especially, you know, when we talk about CARICOM and OECS, for those agencies to start to help facilitate working alongside the private sector now to really make these things a reality.
Most definitely. Well, ladies, I want to thank you so very much for coming and chatting with me and bringing and highlighting, of course, a lot of our challenges, but most importantly, solutions and how we're going to move forward as a business community, not only the Virgin Islands, but across the region. Ms. Lewis, again, welcome to the Virgin Islands. Welcome back.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you, and we wish that your stay and your presentation, of course, and interactions with the business community are meaningful.
And can I really thank my sponsors? So
Absolutely.
I just want to send a heartfelt thank you out to the sponsors that actually helped us make it possible to have our keynote speaker here, as well as the other things that persons will see at the event. Long Bay Resort.
Yes.
She's nodding her head. So she's very happy with the accommodations.
Beautiful.
Tropical Fusion Restaurant, they're doing the catering. BVI Finance Conference Center, we thank them for allowing to accommodate us. JTV, Jafix, you guys in terms of helping us get the word out to A4 Media, CTL, BDO, Colonial Insurance, and who else we have on the list? And I think I definitely need to shout out my team at the office. Really, they have really band together and pulled everything together. So all our branding now on Facebook, our new logo has been released, and you know we're looking forward again to marching forward under this new banner and you know continuing to serve our business community for many, many more years.
Well, as I always do, congratulations to the Chamber on moving forward steadfastly, and of course we look forward to amazing things. Another 54 years.
Yes.
All right. Viewers, that is all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ronn Grant out of 284 Media in the Virgin Islands. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye-bye.